how we write an email. Now, this lesson here is about an informal email. However, I will tell you some things you need to know about formal emails as well, because actually formal emails are more difficult to write. Usually, the structure is the same, the elements are very, very similar, but formal emails have a more strict structure and specific cliches that you need to include into your email. So, as you can see in our example here, this is a typical informal email. You can see by the beginning, hi, they don't use formal titles or surnames. You've got just Curie, Jorge, you've got thanks, you've got short verb forms, he's, you never guess, this is quite an informal structure, must go now, be in touch soon. These are all sentences which are shortened. So we are going to see the typical signs of formal emails and informal emails, and in the file that I will send you I have included some things you need to know from previous levels as well, such as the punctuation, how you read those signs. For example, my email would be milena.rusimova@abv.bg. I don't say abv.bg, right? We need to use the correct words for these symbols. So that's why I have given you the @ the dot, underscore, forward slash, or just slash, colon, semicolon, точка и запетая, dash, тиренце. Now, here I have given you the basic structure for a formal email. Now, what is important to know first is who your recipient is. Кой ще получи имейла? If this is a formal email, you need to start with dear. You can't start with hi, as in this email. Make sure that you don't use short verb forms in a formal email. This one here, his, I'm, we've, I'll, and so on, you can't have. You can't have in a formal email. So make sure that you write the full forms. I am, not I'm. Make sure that you don't use any colloquial language, any slang. Не използвайте жаргон и разговорен английски в официално писмо. Use formal expressions and the cliches that you will see here. Now, every email, as you can see here and here, starts with a greeting. After the greeting, we always have a comma. After the comma, you start a new line with a capital letter, even though you continue the sentence. Въпреки че продължаваме изречението, започваме с главна буква. Here, this is I, here it's T. Thanks for the email. Usually, the way we begin the letter depends on whether we know the person or not. So, sir or madam I will use when I don't know the gender. Не знам пола, нито името. If I know this is a man, I can say dear sir. If I know it's a woman, I can say dear madam. I don't know the name though. If I know the name, I can start with dear Mr. Smith. I can say dear Professor Smith, dear Dr. Smith. If there is a title, use it. No problem. If it's a woman, use MS, Miss Jones. Because this one, nowadays, is accepted as the politically correct way to address a woman. You know, in the past there was Miss, госпожица, and Mrs, госпожа. В български също имахме госпожа и госпожица, в днешно време всички използват госпожа. Като политически коректно, защото тези двете се отнася до това дали е омъжена или не. Сега ние, ако не знам дали е омъжена или не, използваме си най-добре miss. Това е най-сигурният начин, така че ви съветвам да използвате miss. Also, there is no full stop in British English after these expressions, so if you're writing in American English, you can put a full stop. If not, don't. We can start the email with Dear Mary or Hi Mary if we're writing to a friend. Otherwise, don't. Once you have the greeting, you need to say why you are writing the letter. Първото нещо, което засягаме в писмото е защо точно го пишем. So, you can have different reasons for writing the letter. And I've given you some clichés here. If it's an invitation and it's a formal letter, тук са ви по-скоро формалните клишета, така че ако пишете покана, you can use this. I'm pleased to invite you to our wedding or our annual meeting on the 1st of January. If you are answering a letter, you can use these ones. Относно вашето писмо, което ми изпратихте еди си кога си, тук можете да използвате фрази за да отговорите на вече получено писмо. Не е нужно да пишете дата. It's not necessary to include the date. If we are making a request, you also have phrases like these. These are very formal. I should be grateful. I should be most grateful. I would be grateful. It would be helpful. We would be delighted. All of these are phrases that use the modal verbs would, should, because they make it more formal. They are conditionals. Conditional verbs. Те са ви по-условни глаголи, така че бих бил много благодарен, ако вие направите еди си какво си. Правим го по-условно, за да бъде по-учтиво. This is also very formal. Should you require any assistance, please let me know. Ако имате нужда от помощ, моля, уведомете ме. For example. Now, when you make a request, you can include thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. This is a bit of passive-aggressive. Това е малко пасивно-агресивно. Let's say I'm writing a letter of complaint. A letter of complaint, писмо за оплакване. I'm writing a letter of complaint to my local council about the condition of my street. I tell them I want this street to be fixed. And I say, in the end, thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. Благодаря ви за бързата реакция. Въпреки че тези реакции не са предприели, нали? Но ние си благодарим предварително, така пасивно-агресивно. Thank you in advance for your consideration. You can use if you are applying for a job. And in the end you say, thank you in advance for your consideration. I look forward to hearing from you soon. С нетърпение очаквам вашия отговор. So, make sure that you begin with the reason for writing. It needs to be short and straight to the point. Keep it short, keep it simple. Don't use too many words. This is not a novel, it's a short email, because a person receives a lot of emails and they can't read an email which is too long. They will not. Просто човек, който получава 50 имейла на ден, едва ли ще прочете някакъв дълъг страница и половина. Така че гледайте, когато пишете имейл, да пазите този ред и като цяло да бъдете кратки, точни и ясни. Also, be careful with the sentences. Don't make sentences that are too long. Don't make sentences that are too short. After you finish the main point of your email, you need a call to action. Call to action is a phrase that you use to make the other person write to you. In this case, I've included please reply to this email address, but you can use any of these as well. This one is informal, so you can use it with a friend, but the other ones are good for a formal email. Another thing that you will need to include after that, on a new line, this is on a new line, this is on a new line as well. Thank you in advance. Yeah, you can say thank you in advance, or thank you for your prompt attention to this matter as well. You can use these two. Finally, on a new line as well, you use a phrase for saying goodbye. In this case, I've included regards. This is the most popular phrase that people use nowadays. Regards, best regards, kind regards. Тези трите се използват най-често в днешно време. These ones are good for using with friends, not in a formal email. Be careful. These two both mean искрено ваш. Yours faithfully, yours sincerely. They were popular in the past. Nowadays, maybe not so much. Yours faithfully and yours sincerely we use with different cases. So, you have to be careful if you started the letter with sir or madam. You cannot use yours sincerely. S and S don't go together. So if you start with sir, don't use sincerely. You can use faithfully. If you know the name of the person, so you have started with dear John, dear Miss Johnson, dear Mr. Smith, dear Miss Wallace, you can use sincerely. However, these two, like I said, are a bit old as forms. Nowadays, regards are the more popular options. And don't forget to use a comma after this phrase, and to write, if you're writing a formal email, 2 names. If it's an informal email, as you can see, you can use 1 name. So, this is how you write a formal email. I've included those cliches for you to use in later exercises, but here in this informal email you can see informal cliches. Like I said, the informal greeting and phrase for saying goodbye, phrases like be in touch soon, which should be I will be in touch soon, or it is great to hear the news about your job. Such phrases very often are informal because you have some elements omitted. Някои елементи тук ни липсват. The phrase see you later is also informal because it should be I will see you later. Би трябвало да бъде аз ще се видя с теб скоро. Така че тези фрази са ви неформални и в един формален имейл не би следвало да изпускате подобни елементи. A kind of party is also a bit informal. We just clicked is an informal expression. It means we immediately liked each other. Веднага си паснахме, веднага се харесахме. The punctuation even is informal here. You don't use exclamation marks in a formal email because this is it's considered too emotional, so you don't use them. Dashes also is very informal. Of course, here you have apostrophes because this is the short form. We said that in a formal email you don't use verbs that are in the short form. So you can have informal words, informal structures, informal punctuation, and informal expressions. Be careful when you're writing an email. Always consider the register. So here you can complete those rules regarding the emails. I just told you most of them, so this shouldn't be too difficult. And after that, we can discuss this exercise here, where you have to check the email if it's written properly.